Welcome to the Cryptoverse DAO. Welcome to the Crypto News with Cryptoverse DAO. I'm your host, Dharma Sutra, Dharma, whatever you want to call me. We're going to be taking a look at a little bit of a spread of the news from the week. We've talked about quite a bit. Like like a couple of seconds ago, I was talking about Vitalik talking about Shiba Inu and stuff like that. And if you're a little bit confused, that happened on Discord. You're watching this on YouTube. We have a live community, so hit the link in the description. Figure out how you want to engage with us if you want to be a part of these sessions live. After this video has reached its conclusion, we're going to continue the live sort of discussion. So if you want a crypto community to learn within, then join up the Cryptoverse DAO, man. We're pretty cool people. Now, to start us off, let's take a look at the markets. First mover Americas. Bitcoin nears 24,000 as Zipmex suspends withdrawals. Interesting. I saw this as well. It was like 23 something. I had a little bit of Bitcoin and it was a little bit up. And I'm sure a lot of people would have tried to withdraw at this point. I'm very sure because there are people who would probably have bearish sentiment, assume that it's not gonna, it's probably just a little pump before it dumps fully. But when a whole bunch of people sell their bag at that point, that early, what it can do is it can drive the price further down, which realistically isn't what you want, because this, everything does what this guy does, what Bitcoin does, to a degree, kind of. So let's break down the article. Good morning and welcome to First Mover. I am not Bradley, but I am plagiarizing Bradley, here to take you through the latest in crypto markets news and insights. Price point rallying towards 24,000 USD after I think the lowest point was like 17,000 something. That was like the lowest point of the dip. And now we're basically back up to close to where we were when we jumped down from like 30k. Zipmex, we've seen Celsius, we've seen 3AC, we've seen all the contagion around those two exchanges halting withdrawals and all of the storylines around it. And now we've had another exchange added to the list. We've got Zipmex, the latest crypto industry casualty. They've suspended withdrawals. So a rally in crypto markets over the past couple of days has suddenly built into something substantial, right? They were calling it a relief rally. They were saying it was just a momentary kind of thing, but now it's apparently something kind of substantial. It's the highest price in a month, approaching 24,000. We've had the cryptocurrency trading higher on 7 of the past 8 days, which is nice. Analysts attribute the recent gains to speculation that the Fed is not going to be as aggressive in tightening monetary conditions. This is a report from Shaurya Malwa. Let's take a look at this. Dogecoin, Bitcoin lead recovery among majors. Some analysts warn of selling pressure. So they reckon that the Fed is being perceived as not cracking down or not as likely to crack down as hard as they could, tightening monetary conditions. And as a result, there's speculation that this is why we've seen kind of like a relief rally. For most of this year, the Fed has been raising interest rates to tamp down inflation, running at its fastest pace in 4 decades. It's ridiculous. I think wasn't the CPI like 9.5%, or did I just see that on Twitter? I don't know. Like it's ridiculous. I mean, you just look around wherever you are in the world, just look around and you'll see kind of inflation, massive, ridiculous inflation. And the expectation of higher borrowing costs have been pushing down valuations for risky assets, quote unquote risky assets like stocks and cryptocurrencies, from stocks to cryptocurrencies. Helen Braun, a economics reporter for CoinDesk, published a fascinating story showing how the Fed has not been this far behind the curve on fighting inflation for decades. I'm going to pop that in the general chat on Discord for you guys to kind of take a look at. And some top economists say the situation is looking precarious. Braun dug through the transcripts of the Fed meetings through the 1980s, which was the last major inflation flare-up, to illustrate just how worried members of the Paul Volcker-led central bank were at that time. Such urgency appears missing from the current Jerome Powell-led Fed, at least for now. Now, with that as the backdrop, there's always the possibility that the Fed may be forced to address the growing risk that the soaring inflation turns into a real emergency. Crypto analysts remain cautious, right, despite the recent vigor creeping into the market. If the upside momentum stalls as it did in February and March, we should be prepared for a sharp increase in selling. Yeah, makes sense. This is what Alex, FX Pro senior market analyst, wrote in an email. Despite the rally, the price is still, yeah, it's true. I mean, it's just a momentary kind of rise. And I'll let Simon kind of pull up the charts and, explain all of that stuff. But despite the rally, still just 1/3 of the all-time high we saw, that was 69,000, nice, reached in late 2021. And the crypto industry continues to suffer. Wednesday brought fresh news of another player suffering. This is Zipmex. This is where we see, let's go direct to the story. So, citing volatile market conditions, that's what they've said is the reason, due to a combination of circumstances beyond our control, including volatile market conditions and the resulting financial difficulties of our key business partners. To maintain the integrity of our platform, we will be pausing withdrawals until further notice. This is what they said on Twitter. Another one. Rest in peace, man. Yeah, I mean, it is what it is. Most centralized exchanges are probably bankrupt. But let's continue with this. So several crypto, we've seen Celsius. I touched on that before. We've touched on this on the previous news videos before as well. Celsius as well, Chapter 11 bankruptcy protection. It filed for Chapter 11 bankruptcy in quite recently. So now we've had Zipmex joining the list of kind of, the exchanges that are going under. So that's, we'll have to kind of follow the story, wait and see how much further the contagion kind of continues to spread. But, the relief rally, will that potentially counteract it? What kind of effect is it going to have? We'll just have to wait and see. If you have any ideas, if you have any opinions on this stuff, drop a comment on the YouTube, or, we can chat about it in the live session. Elsewhere in the digital asset markets, Dogecoin's Doge surged 11%, leading gains among major cryptocurrencies in the past 24 hours. No technical catalysts for the move seem to exist at all, but developers for the network polled community members for their opinions on a Dogecoin-centric hackathon event in November, which may suggest future technical development. Prices of Cardano and Ripple rose as much as 8%. BNB added 2.7%. Solana's Sol, the native token, traded flat after a nearly 30% rally over the past week. Total crypto market capitalization, total market cap, increased 4%, rising above 1.1 trillion. Outside of majors, Ape surged 8% as buying momentum from last week's Metaverse game demo continued. This was really interesting. I think we had a couple of community members who attended this. And all over Twitter was the joke was, oh, it's zero lag, bro. Oh my god, it's like thousands of people with zero lag. Shiba Inu's SHIB jumped 10% as well, despite the lack of a technical catalyst. We were talking about this a second ago. Vitalik had a lot of really positive things to say. Well, I wouldn't say a lot of really positive things to say, but he spoke positively about Shiba. So that potentially could account for this. Who knows? In traditional markets, U.S. equity futures were wavering. Traders were awaiting a report on U.S. home sales, and European officials rolled out a plan to ration supplies of natural gas amid warnings of, okay, that's not really crypto related. Here is a table of the biggest gainers thus far. Yeah, 7.7, plus 7.7 returns for Doge, 7.5 for Bitcoin, a flat 7% for SHIB. Quite good, right? And the biggest losers were Solana, Loopring, and Polygon, interestingly enough. So active wallets on the Solana network grew 58% this year, outpacing some other blockchains despite a market-wide price decline. Figures for quote-unquote new daily addresses on Solana consistently grew its user base throughout the bear market, research by CoinMarketCap that cited data from Glassnode and the block showed. New daily addresses, what does that mean? It refers to first-time wallet users on any blockchain network, which can signal growth and adoption. On Solana, new users peaked at over 400,000 in May, before gradually declining to 240,000 this week. These figures are a jump from December of last year. We were looking at 150,000 and 170,000 new members or new users each day. Daily active wallets have similarly climbed this year. Over 32 million active users in June, 37 in May. This is up from an average of 20 million in the first 4 months of this year. But data suggests the activity did not amount to inflows. The total value locked on DeFi applications, on dApps running on Solana, dropped to $2.9 billion. That happened this week from May's $6 billion figure. The total value locked for Solana peaked at $14 billion in December of last year. Interesting. So that's the sauce on the markets, kind of like a market, a look at the market. Let's take a look at the next story. Let's talk about Korea. Let's talk about Dokkan. Let's talk about the heat. We're seeing America and South Korea kind of working together to bring justice, to bring, to bring justice in a space without a lot of regulation or not credibility, but nothing really in the way of an assurance of justice in the event that something goes wrong. And something certainly went wrong with Terra Luna. Burned a lot of people. A lot of people got hurt. We've covered that. We did like a proper like big stream when all of that happened, and we talked about it. So I think that should be on the YouTube as well. If you just search it up, I'm sure you'll find it. Go through the videos. So let's take a look at this. What has happened now? Where do we stand now with good old Dokkan? Korean prosecutors raid crypto exchanges in Terra probe. South Korean prosecutors' raids on 7 local crypto exchanges are part of an ongoing investigation into Terraform Labs' activities. Side note, I was on Twitter and I saw this thing about I did mention this before as well, but there was a big move. There was a big Bitcoin move. And literally people on Twitter were like, "Oh, it smells like Dokkan." It was like a big kind of move in South Korea or something. I will try to, you know what I'll do? I'll find that specific tweet, and I will put it in the general chat as well. I'll put the link to it in the general chat so you guys can kind of join that conversation and see what people are saying, because it's important to kind of get a feel for what people are saying and what like the overall sentiment is in the crypto markets. Offices of Upbit and several other crypto exchanges were raided on Wednesday by a team of investigators probing a fraud case in connection with the collapse of UST and Luna. Per the report, Seoul Southern District Prosecutor's Office began seizing transaction records and other material from Upbit, Bitnumb, Coin1, and 4 other local exchanges. The investigation team reportedly plans to study the seized materials and question witnesses to determine the size of damages suffered by investors and whether Dokkan, the CEO of Terra Labs, intentionally caused the collapse of the Terra. That's the real question, isn't it? That's the real question. Investigators also conducted raids on other places, including the homes and offices of individuals involved in the case. Decrypt has reached out to the aforementioned exchanges up here for comments, and yeah, we'll follow this story as well. As soon as there's an update, we'll check back if there's an update. We'll talk about it. Terra's UST algorithmic stablecoin collapsed after losing its intended peg to the US dollar in May, along with Luna, resulting in tens of billions of investors' wealth wiped out from the market. The implosion has also attracted regulatory scrutiny around the globe. Yeah, it hurt a lot of people. But like I said, we've had that whole conversation before, so if you want to catch up, we can talk about it again. We'll do that in the live session. But it's worth kind of like finding that old Luna video on the YouTube. The SEC is reportedly looking into a possible violation of federal investor protection rules in relation to UST marketing practices, and South Korean authorities launched a separate investigation. So there you see America and South Korea kind of cooperating to bring justice. And they did this to determine whether intentional price manipulation and other issues could have been behind the UST collapse. A class action lawsuit was also brought against Quan and Terraform Labs in June in the U.S. District Court in Northern California. As for Quan himself, the Terraform Labs co-founder last month said that he was devastated by the collapse of the project. He also claimed that he had personally lost nearly all his net worth in Terra's crash while denying claims that the project was a fraud. So he's denied the allegations of fraud. The next thing I want to talk about is the UK. In addition to being on fire because it's so ridiculously hot in the UK right now, I think they recorded a 40-degree, like, provisional recording of like a 40-degree Celsius, 40 degrees Celsius, which is fucking ridiculous. It's crazy. But yeah, in addition to burning up, we're also trying to introduce rules for stablecoins in a new markets bill. The much anticipated Financial Services and Markets Bill to be presented to Parliament includes rules for the use of stablecoins as a means of payment. Regulators in the UK are introducing rules for stablecoins, cryptocurrencies whose prices are pegged to another asset, as payment tools to Parliament on Wednesday. The rules are part of a long-awaited Financial Services and Markets Bill aimed at strengthening the UK financial system post-Brexit. This is when they left the European Union, set to be presented to Parliament in the coming hours. The government has previously said that crypto will play a part in the country's broader post-Brexit strategy, absolutely, to increase economic competitiveness. And in April, the UK Treasury announced a set of initiatives to help turn the country into a global crypto hub. The announcement promised new rules that would let consumers confidently use stablecoins for payments. Interesting. Rishi Sunak was talking about this before, before Boris Johnson had his little implosion. About stablecoins, about stables. I think the first ever news video that was uploaded to our YouTube was covering Rishi Sunak and stablecoins in the UK. So it's nice to see kind of like something of a bullish, kind of the beginning of a bullish conclusion, I guess, to this story. I've said this a million times, but there's also a call to action for the next until the end of August, to kind of throw evidence at the government for why crypto regulation should look the way you want it to look. So go to gov.uk. The email is actually, it's Financial Services BAI, Financial Services BAI at hmrc.gov.uk. That's Financial Services BAI at hmrc.gov.uk. There's like a, you send in if you're a private investor, a institutional investor, if you're in education, if you're like an academic in crypto, if you're teaching people in crypto, if you have like a hedge fund that you manage, if you're in projects, whatever it is, if you're making money off of crypto, it could be. But then also, I don't know, man, proceed with caution. Basically, we could talk about this in the discussion later on, but the overall trend in the UK is definitely towards mass adoption of crypto so far. Regulation is important. Measured regulation is very, very important, especially in the infancy of a industry. Very, very important, because what the rules that are written now are going to be enforced for a very long time. So if there is a way to influence the rules to make sure that they're fair, then that's something that's important. It's important to draw attention to it and to engage with it. The announcement promised new rules that would let but a dramatic crypto market downturn, followed by the resignations of crypto-friendly finance minister Rishi Sunak and senior treasury official John Glenn, threatened to shake up the plans. Now in May, I think right now it's Rishi Sunak and Liz Truss who are like vying for the prime minister position. So I mean, I know what I'm hoping for, man. In May, the collapse of the $18 billion stablecoin Terra USD, it prompted the Bank of England, which is the UK central bank, to publish a consultation on its plans to regulate similar crypto assets and to propose that the bank be given the power to appoint administrators to oversee insolvency procedures for failed stablecoin issuers. Earlier this month, the Bank of England Deputy Governor John Cunliffe hinted at a delay on crypto regulations in light of the cabinet reshuffle, but he promised stablecoin rules before the August summer break. So that's where we're at now. They're about to introduce rules. Explaining the new bill during his first speech as the newly appointed finance minister on Tuesday, Nadeem Zahawi said the framework reinforces the UK's position as a leading center for technology as we safely adopt crypto assets. Beautiful. Can't wait to see it. And the final piece of news we have for you today is a U.S. congressman blasting the SEC for non-judicial actions against crypto companies. Congressman Emmer has highlighted that the SEC's politicization, he's highlighted the politicization of regulation and framed it negatively, calling it power-hungry regulators that discourage good faith regulations. Interesting. Let's take a look at this. So Tom Emmer, Republican congressman from Minnesota, has become the latest politician to blast the SEC for its unethical actions against crypto companies. Emmer posted a video on Tuesday showing his conversation at the House Committee on Financial Services where he accused the SEC of politicizing regulations. What? Crazy. He went on to grill SEC Enforcement Director Gurbir Grewal over SEC's unethical industry sweeps. Let's take a look.
Guys, gentleman from Minnesota, Mr. Elmer.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, and Ranking Member Huizinga for hosting this hearing today. Mr. Grewal, you frequently acknowledge that public trust and confidence in our capital markets has eroded. In fact, on October 13th, 2021, you stated, quote, "The decline in trust undermines the investor confidence needed for the fair, efficient, and orderly operation of our capital markets. Put simply, if the public doesn't think the system is fair, they are not going to invest their hard-earned money." Close quote. I agree. But time and time again, you place the cause of blame for this erosion of trust almost squarely on the shoulders of industry participants and companies. Mr. Grewal, the SEC is in no way blameless here. Chair Gensler's political regime at the SEC, carried out by its Division of Enforcement, has been characterized by a focus on using enforcement to expand SEC jurisdiction at the expense of public resources, public investment in our country, and public trust in our markets. It seems clear to everyone, except maybe those at the Commission, that the SEC is not regulating in good faith. Although many sectors of the industry have grappled with the SEC's politicization of regulation over the last 14 months, it can be seen most clearly when it comes to the digital asset industry. Take, for example, industry sweeps. As you know, industry sweeps are not novel to the digital asset industry. They are a series of voluntary document production request letters as a regulator sends to everyone in a given industry who is similarly situated or is involved in the same type of activity. Mr. Grewal, does the SEC Division of Enforcement do industry sweeps?
We do industry sweeps from time to time when we have industry.
Thank you. The answer is yes. I've reclaimed my time. Are there currently any industry sweeps underway?
So I can't talk about investigations.
You can't talk about it legally, or you won't talk about it?
It's our policy not to confirm or deny investigations.
So you won't talk about it. All right. What do you do if a company, sir, cannot respond to a sweep letter because they're not in your jurisdiction?
If we issue a voluntary request for information, there's not much we can do. We can proceed with the subpoena and then a subpoena enforcement action.
So you do extra jurisdictional requests then?
Voluntary requests are just that. They're voluntary. They're an important part.
Again, sir, I'm not asking about the request now. I'm asking about the people you direct those to. There are some that would be within the SEC's jurisdiction. There are some that are not. My question is, and I think you've confirmed it, that you do industry sweeps to extra jurisdictional market participants, people you do not have enforcement authority over.
We subpoena individuals and witnesses who may be in the market participants.
Are they within your jurisdiction and outside of your jurisdiction?
We're not limited by our jurisdiction. When we're collecting evidence, we follow the evidence wherever it leads and to whomever it leads. There may be someone who doesn't work in the industry who might have information.
I would say, sir,
go after them.
I would ask you, so you do extra jurisdictional work. Some would argue that that's not appropriate. But Mr. Grewal, has Chair Gensler ever directed you, or to your knowledge, asked any of your colleagues to make it a bloodbath for companies who don't respond to a sweep letter, which are voluntary?
No, that's not happening.
Interesting. We've become aware that Chair Gensler has in the past directed the Division of Enforcement to send a sweep letter to a particular sector of the crypto community designed to jam them into a violation that is allegedly unconstitutional. And if any company does not respond to said sweep letter, which I'll reiterate, as you've said several times, are supposed to be voluntary, then the SEC would make it a, quote, bloodbath for them. If true, I imagine such a tactic would significantly erode trust between the public and the SEC. Here's the problem. The SEC isn't interested in clarifying what areas of the crypto industry fall under SEC jurisdiction. We know that because FinHub, that you've referred to, the SEC division focused on crafting crypto regulation, has essentially dissolved under Gensler. Nonetheless, while abandoning good faith attempts to clarify how the Commission's existing authority applies to digital assets, the SEC is hell-bent on expanding the size of its crypto enforcement division and using enforcement to unconstitutionally expand its jurisdiction. Under Chair Gensler, the SEC has become a power-hungry regulator, politicizing enforcement, baiting companies to, quote, come in and talk to the Commission, then hitting them with enforcement actions and discouraging good faith cooperation. Understand, sir, there is a new day coming. Thank you. I yield back.
Very interesting. Very interesting. Baiting companies to come in and talk to the Commission and then slamming them with... Interesting. I'm on Twitter right now, and someone is talking about LBRY. It's a verified account, 83.7 thousand followers. It says LBRY does to publishing what Bitcoin does to money. These guys say this is exactly what happened to us. We went in voluntarily and begged for any feedback on how to operate legally, and all they did was use information we gave them voluntarily to sue us. Do not talk to the SEC. Interesting. People are saying Representative Sherman has ulterior motives. Check out his donors list. It was strange how often he brought up XRP as being a security. Congressman trying to shut down crypto. Getting the biggest donations from big banks and financial institutions. Absolutely ridiculous. I mean, it's almost like government doesn't exist for your betterment. Wow, that's ridiculous. Who would have thought? The congressman further inquired if these sweeps against crypto companies fall under the jurisdiction of the SEC and what actions the commission takes. Yeah, we've heard all of this stuff. I think this is kind of like the crux of it all. They're talking about regulation. I talked about how I mentioned that regulation is very important in the infancy of an industry. It's also important that you don't suffocate an industry before it has a chance to grow. And yeah, I mean, you see this all the time. You see things like this happening all the time. It's a story that we'll have to kind of follow, and we'll have to see how this develops and what regulation ends up looking like. But if you're involved in crypto, what you can do is you can involve yourself even further. If you live in one of these countries that is trying to regulate crypto, then, exercise your political power, that, as whatever that means, like use your democratic power to influence it if you can. And just do as much as you can to just get yourself in the arena, honestly, because we're pre-bull run now. And it's good to get in early on things. And that doesn't mean go spend your money on some profile picture. That's not what I mean. I mean, educate yourself about blockchain and NFTs and like what the technology means, what it can do, and how it can make you money down the line. Learn how it can make you money before just like throwing your money at something because some guy on Twitter said, oh yeah, it's, someone retweeted something. But yeah, I'll leave you with that. I have been Dharma. This has been the news with the Cryptoverse DAO. Thank you so much for being a part of it. Do remember to like and subscribe and engage with the YouTube. And use the link in the description. It's a link tree. All of our socials are on there. If you want to engage, do engage. I will see you guys on the flip. Enjoy the rest of your Wednesday. Bye-bye.